began well, very well. In the morning, I had a nice bath and put on clean, loose clothes. Incense filled the room. I closed the door and solemnly stood up to pray. Barely a few minutes had passed when I heard a knock at the door. A little annoyed, I opened the door to find one of my friends with a broad smile on his face. Just came by to let you know that I'm going out to the country this weekend, he said. I forced myself to be polite. Thank you for telling me. Have a good time. Bye. I closed the door and my smile melted. I resumed my prayer, trying to recompose myself. A few minutes later, the phone rang. Again annoyed, I answered it brusquely. Hello, I said. Oh, said the caller. I'm sorry, wrong number, and hung up. Although these interruptions irritated me, I somehow managed to finish my prayer. But now my plans for a day of peaceful reading and prayer seemed meaningless because of the dark mood that had settled in.
Well, just repeating the reading and just highlighting certain points. When we say holiday, he says it's a holy day, Holy. And he wanted to make it a holy day. How to make it a holy day? By getting up early in the morning, by having a bath, by having incense in the home, agarbatti or whatever you will call it, incense in the home, and wear good clothes, loose clothes, so that we can very comfortably sit in and do meditation and do prayers and read some spiritual books. So that is what we consider as a holy day. And the author wanted to do that. And just as he was doing that, as we read, there was a knock at the door. It happens that sometimes we have a certain plan, a plan of action, and it gets disturbed and it gets, all the time it just gets hijacked in a sense. So there was a knock and somebody just said, oh, I'm leaving for out of the country or out of a town. And we do that. We all do that. That we give a very broad smile, but actually there's nothing inside, and the moment the door closes, the smile also collapses, And then the second disturbance was, that there was a phone call. And so he answered this, it brusquely would mean very rudely, we get so irritated that we cannot contain our irritation. And the hello was very, hello, like, what a disturbance. Is this the time to call early in the morning? Kind of thing. And the caller said, oh, I'm sorry, wrong number. And although these interruptions irritated me, I somehow managed to finish my prayer. Somehow managed to finish my prayer means we consider prayer, most of us, as a ritual. And that reminds me of an episode, one of our ex-presidents of the Bombay Center, Darabsa Katra. He hailed from the Parsi priest class community. His father was a priest, Manchesha. And he used to stay in the building where Kaka Baria, one of Baba's Mandali, used to stay. He used to be on the second floor. Kaka Baria used to be on the third floor. And Baba would visit Kaka Baria. He was also called Baria Kaka, sometimes only Kaka. So Baba would visit Kaka sometimes or the other whenever Baba is in Mumbai, Bombay at that time. And he would ting-tong Darabsa's house and just say hi, bye. And sometimes even come in and sit over there and chat with the family. So once when Baba came, Darabsa was reading the Parsi religious book, prayer book, we call it Avastha. So he was reading that Parsi prayer book, and Baba jocularly asked, words to the effect in Gujarati, I'll tell you in English, ધ્યાનથી વને જ કે ખાલી પાના ફેરવ્યા કરે જ અને પછવાડે ફરવીને જોજ કે કેટલા પાના બાકી છે ગાપચા મારે means in other words, are you reading with your heart or you are just you are jumping from few pages so as to finish the whole book and sometimes even turning behind to see how many pages are left. And the Arab Shah, in all honesty, said, yeah, sometimes I do that, And immediately Baba said, no, there's no meaning in that prayer. So pray very little, but pray it from the heart. Because if you just want to pray from the point of view of finishing the prayer, then it has no value. So here the author says, Bal Natu ji says, although these interruptions irritated me, I somehow, that word somehow triggered that thought into my mind. I somehow managed to finish my prayer. That means he finished his prayer. But now my plans for a day of peaceful reading and prayer seemed meaningless. What happened is that we are in a certain mood. And when we get disturbed, that mood just flies off the window. And then we say, I don't want to do this anymore. Now let me turn to something else. We all do that. So it's so much, the book relates so much to us because we are doing a similar thing. He said the prayer seemed meaningless because of the dark mood that had settled in. Now he's talking about my mood is spoiled because of these disturbances. Somehow I finished the prayers and now the dark mood is there. And so my whole plan is flopped and I am now engaging myself in something else.
On the spur of the moment, I thought of doing something very mundane and down to earth. I decided to dust and rearrange the things given to me over the years by my friends and relatives. Soon, the table was strewn with many things which awakened nostalgic memories from my past. I was handling a pouch of marbles given to me by my mother when I was a boy. Suddenly, the cord came untied and the pouch burst open. Marbles bounced off in all directions. I went down on all fours, trying to gather them together again when you patted me on the shoulder from behind, saying, "Here's one."
See how Baba's entry point is so dramatic. Yeah. So he is now out of mood. He opens up some, some nostalgic means something of the younger years. You remember photo frames and some items here and there, and the pouch just untied itself and the marbles fell down. So he's on all fours and Baba is stepping and giving him one marble, here's one. So just try to imagine the scenario and Baba's timing of coming in and also popping off.
I looked at you and took the brilliant green marble that you held out to me. But I didn't speak a word, not even a thank you. My, what a fine holiday mood you are in, you said with a twinkle in your eye.
This was Baba's humor, that he can really catch us raw and really pull a fast one against us. That is what he was used to do. So he's saying, my, wow, what a beautiful mood you are in on a holiday.
In spite of your presence, I couldn't get over my mood. I grimly responded. I propose and you dispose.
We always say, man proposes, God disposes.
Is that so? You said, raising a questioning eyebrow. Tell me what happened.
Here again, Baba's innocence, his ignorance. Tell me what happened. Why do you say that I propose and you dispose? What happened? Tell me. He always prefers to be informed and to be told of what is happening in our life.
I narrated the incidents of the morning, my plans for a quiet time of spiritual reading and especially prayers, and the unexpected disturbances. Looking straight into my eyes, you said, "But why do you separate your everyday living from a contemplative life?"
Just a minute. This is again a very important thought. Why do you separate your everyday living from a contemplative life? Contemplating means thought, deeply thinking, deeply meditating. Why do you segregate certain days as separate from the normal mundane day-to-day living? Why can't you have contemplative thinking or meditation or deep love for me or remembrance in your mundane life itself? Why do you want to segregate the two? Yeah. What? Why?
But why do you separate your everyday living from a contemplative life? Without grasping the import of your statement, I persisted. Shouldn't I set aside some time for prayers and meditation? Who says no? Have your plans, sure, but offer them to my pleasure, and this will easily take away the pride of fulfilling your plans. Prayer should be a way to experiment and experience that whatever is happening is my wish.
So this is again a very profound thought. Baba says, who says no? You may, if you want, you can plan your holidays. You can separate a contemplative day from the normal mundane day. You can do that. You can do whatever. Who says no? Have your plans. Sure. So this is important. But offer them to my pleasure. And this will easily take away the pride of fulfilling your plans. In other words, have your plans, and if they go well, you offer it to me as if it's my pleasure. And if it doesn't go well, then also think that it is Baba who does not want it to go the way I am proposing to go. In other words, it's a win-win situation. It is always as per Baba's wish. Then Baba goes to say, prayer should be a way to experiment and experience that whatever is happening is my wish. What I interpret that is that nothing wrong in having our own plans. You can have we can always have our own plans. There's a saying in English, that plan your work and then work your plan. So first you plan what work you want to do today, and then you are working your plan. But in the process of working our plan, we must always understand that at the end of the day, it is offered to Baba. That means if things work according to what we have planned, thank you, Baba. If it does not work according to what we have planned, again, thank you, Baba. That's your wish. Then we don't feel irritated, we don't feel agitated, we don't go down the dumps, we don't feel depressed, we don't say man proposes, God disposes. No, everything you offer it to Baba as a prayer. So your Baba says prayer should be a way to experiment and experience what? That whatever is happening is my wish. The moment we get anchored into this thought that whatever is happening in my life is as per Baba's wish, then Baba said that is the real prayer. Acceptance of what is.
My mind is still muddled and I don't follow what you said. Please explain a little more. Here is a figure. When someone is working on a spinning wheel, if the thread snaps, the person simply adds a little bit of cotton, extra bit of cotton to join the fiber, and on goes the spinning. Haven't you noticed this? Yes, I have. But its application in life doesn't seem so simple. Presuppositions always make things more difficult. When the thread of your plans is broken, take a little bit of your trust in my wish to join the broken thread with the fibers that continue to spin off from life's wheel. Be open, be positive.
See what a splendid example Baba says, that when somebody is working on a spin wheel, what happens? Supposing the thread breaks, he doesn't moan, he doesn't cry and weep and wail and why did it happen? He just takes an extra piece of cotton and just wraps it in such a way that once again the weaving continues. In the same way, if we are weaving the plans of our life, and if the plans break, it doesn't work the way we expected it to break. We are to work. I'm sorry, to work. We are supposed to take a little bit of that fiber. What is that? Our trust in Baba's wish. That becomes the additional cotton and continue with your plan or continue to live your life. I'll read this again because it is very important. In short, if you have fallen down, don't remain fallen down. Get up and move. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall down. The important thing is that you move. You know, like in boxing or wrestling, so many times the one of you will fall down. But as long as he gets up before the count of 3 or 10 or whatever, depending upon the game, he is not considered as having lost the bout, isn't it? So in the same way, it is not important as to how many times we fail or how many times our plan breaks down or how many times we have fallen down. The important thing is that first we have to consider that as Baba's wish and then get up and continue with whatever we have been doing. So I'll repeat the sentence again. Bal Natu ji says, my mind is still muddled up. Muddled is all disorganized. I can't think straight. I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't follow what you said. Please explain a little more. Baba says, here is a figure. So he's just giving an analogy. Here is a figure. When somebody is working on a spinning wheel, if the thread snaps, the person simply adds a little extra bit of cotton to join the fiber. And on goes the spinning. Haven't you noticed this? Then Baba he says, yes, I have. But its application in life doesn't seem so simple. Now, here another which I forgot to mention. Absolutely powerful statement. Baba says, presuppositions always make things difficult. I repeat, we are presupposing failures and therefore we are failing. It is another statement which is also very beautiful is assumed fear or assumed failure or assumed risk is always greater than the real fear or real failure or real risk. We are assuming something negative to happen. We are presupposing that things will not go right. And when you presuppose, this is what happens. So Baba says here, presupposition always make things more difficult. Many times in our life, oh, I don't think this will work. That means you are being self-hypnotized. You are already sending out vibrations and feelers in your whatever you are doing that this is not going to work. So presupposition always make things more difficult. And then Baba goes on to say, when the thread of your plan is broken, take a little bit of your trust in my wish. Take a little bit of your trust in my wish. To join the broken thread with the fiber that continues to spin off from life's wheel. Be open, be positive. In other words, things, and many times, things don't turn out as we have planned. If it doesn't, never mind. Have trust in Baba's wish. Maybe Baba wants us to become stronger. Baba wants to develop more of persistence in us, more of faith in us, more of positivity in us, more of patience in us. And so look at it from a positive standpoint and continue to weave the thread of your life. That is how I would interpret.
I looked at you. Your nearness seemed a blessing, and your presence began to unfold its liveliness within me. How mistaken I had been in being so annoyed by the disturbances this morning. I maintained a modest silence. With eyes beaming, you continued. Prayer should close the distance between you and me. In prayer, you have to leave yourself behind, making way for me. You have to willingly disown yourself so that I can enter all aspects of your life. It should be a joyous, voluntary grounding in my enlivening presence.
So in other words, again, whatever we may be doing, whether it is prayer or doing any kind of Baba work or even any kind of mundane work, we have to invite Baba in that work. Point number one. And we have to let go our ego, our I, our aham as much as possible. Because when we create a space by removing our I, in that space, Baba can enter and work the way he wants us to work within us and also outside of us. So here, I looked at you, which is what Bal Natu ji is saying. Your nearness seemed a blessing, and your presence began to unfold its liveliness within me. See, basically, everything is within. All that is outside is just a manifestation of what is within. If we are irritated, if we are angry, if we are dejected, if we are depressed, it is, and we project it outside. But nothing is wrong outside. If you feel that something is wrong outside, it is some repair work has to be done within. Like Buddha said, if you are suffering, if you are unhappy, if you are dejected, if you are depressed, you are to be blamed. The blame, everything starts with us because we are not well tuned inside, and that is why we feel the outside to be not in tune with whatever we want it to be. So Baba says, how mistaken I'd been in being so annoyed by the disturbances this morning. So he accepts that I shouldn't have been so annoyed. Annoyance comes, irritation comes, things do come. It's not that we are above, but it should not be to such an extent that it depresses us, that it makes us go out of mood. Because nobody can make us unhappy. Nobody can make us go out of mood. Nobody can create disturbance and depression within us unless and until we give that permission to the other person, to the other things to do it to us. If we are determined, nothing and nobody can make me unhappy, then you are not happy. You are not unhappy at all. You are not disturbed at all. The moment that we are disturbed because of the external forces, it itself shows that we are so weak that the external forces which we hate, which we dislike, are able to have its prabhav, its power, its influence over us. Why should I do that? Why would I allow such a thing to happen? That too based on somebody whom I dislike. Let's put it that way. So then, with eyes beaming, you continue. Prayer should close the distance between you and me. Baba says, prayer is what? Prayer is like connecting a link between you and Baba. It should not never be ritualistic that you simply pray and just get going with the pages and, oh, I have finished my prayer. Okay, that's fine. Many people do that. In fact, most people do it. But Baba says prayer should close the distance. That means bring it closer between you and me. In prayer, you have to leave yourself behind, making way for me. You have to willingly disown yourself so that I can enter all aspects of your life. It should be joyous, voluntary, grounding in my enlivening presence. It has to be joyous, it has to be voluntary, grounding. You make a grounding place for Baba's enlivening presence in our being. His presence in our being should be anchored with loving, joyous remembrance of him. And that equivalence to is equivalent to prayer.
At this point, I interrupted. But for a novice like me, surely a quiet atmosphere and a special time is helpful. Shouldn't I try to arrange such a setting? In fact, I was still trying to justify my earlier annoyance.
So he's still trying, mind is such a tricky thing. we roundabout way, we try to justify what we have done. So he's asking, shouldn't I be keeping some separate time for prayer,
Because
quiet
he's a
time?
novice.
Huh?
Because he's a novice.
Because I'm a novice after all. I'm new to all these things. So can't I have a separate time and a separate place and a quietude where I can think about you?
You gave me an amused and tolerant look and said, there's nothing wrong in expecting or planning. But if things happen differently, you shouldn't be enraged. There are numberless factors working, and prayer should help you to respond to the changing situations around you from a place of poise within yourself. It becomes a wonderful game when practice has made you a skilled player.
So again, here what Baba is emphasizing, that irrespective of what your plans are, irrespective of what is happening outside, which is not allowing you to fulfill your plan, if you are a skilled player, you will take the position of poise within you and try not to be disturbed, not to be dejected by things that are happening outside of you. Basically, that would be my interpretation. So let's read Baba's words again. There is nothing wrong in expecting or planning. Of course, we do expect and we do plan. Nothing wrong in expecting or planning. But if things happen differently, you shouldn't be enraged. The moment we are enraged, the moment we are dejected, the moment we are shouting, the moment we are, it simply shows that something outside of you has taken control over you, that you are weak and the outside environment is strong. So, in other words, we should be strong within in order to take the beating, the buffer. The buffer should be so strong that irrespective of howsoever heavy pounding is happening upon us from outside, our inside is not disturbed. It is in a state of equanimity, poise, right? So Baba says, there's nothing wrong in expecting or planning, but if things happen differently, you shouldn't be enraged. There are numberless factors working. This again is a very, very important factor. I've said it in a different way, that the result of any work is based on the numberless factors which are concurrently functioning to bring a particular result. And our effort, our planning, our whatever it is one ingredient in that whole of things. You see, so we have made an effort, we are trying to do something, we are trying to achieve a certain goal, but we could not. I have put my best effort, but we could not, because concurrently there are so many aspects of samskaras which are functioning to get the result. And our contribution is only one. So we must be able to accept the result based on the fact that there are, Baba uses the word, there are numberless factors working. For example, I just give an example that Baba wants us to become still more determined. Baba wants us to give more of the persistence of a certain thing, or more of patience, or he wants us to do work still more, put in still more effort. Then he won't pass us in the very first attempt. He will not fail. I'm not talking he. The samskaras are such that the result will be not to our liking. Then we have to introspect. Then we have to go within ourselves. Then we have to question ourselves as to whether there was anything lacking in my effort.
Or 99 times.
Yeah. What was that? Thomas Edison. Where he failed to make whatever, an electric bulb or electric battery or something. 99 times he failed, or whatever, 999 times he failed, and 100 times he succeeded. So in an interview, he was asked, how did you feel when you failed 90 times, 99 times? that you could not make it. He said, fail? What fail? Now I know 99 times whereby this cannot be made in this fashion. That means he has taken a positive look that 99 times failure means he has become wiser how it cannot be achieved by making it in this particular fashion. So in other words, one has to be always positive in our approach. So here Baba says, so and persistent. There are numberless factors working, and prayer should help you to respond. Prayer should help you to respond to the changing situations around you from a place of poise within yourself. So, what is prayer? Prayer should be such that it will help us to flow with the tide and not be rigid, to help us to respond to the changing situations around you from a place of poise within you. It becomes a wonderful game. After all, life is all a game, all about game. Baba himself said that the whole of life is like playing a game of hide and seek, where you have to find your real self. The whole game, the whole thing is just a game. So Baba says it becomes a wonderful game when practice has made you a skilled player.
Is there some technique or a special way to get to the center of poise within me? There is and there isn't. It unfolds on its own when your prayers are offered with a warm heart. Just words alone don't constitute prayer. Rigidity can turn sublime words into rituals, while a sense of humor with discrimination can fill a prayer with liveliness. In that case, although the words
Ekta Mehta, can you please mute your mic, dear? Ekta, thank you. Okay.
In that case, although the words remain the same, the prayer becomes alive, animated. Such prayers may be experienced at set times or spontaneously any time in the course of daily life.
Okay. So once again, here we are getting a clue that what constitutes a prayer is not just a combination of words or mantra or whatever you may call it, but it's the feeling, it's the heart, it's the spontaneity, it's the joy in what you are saying, yeah, in what you are saying, and not just the words. The words may be very sublime because all prayers of all religion are really very sublime. They have been arranged in such a way that when you the intonation itself will help. But if you do it without the heart, if you do it mechanically, then those very beautiful and sublime words can turn into a ritual. And once it turns into a ritual, it is mechanical. It does not help you as much as it would help if it is said spontaneously. So, Baba, the author is asking, is there some technique or a special way to get to the center of poise within me? Baba emphasizes on the poise, and Baba emphasizes on the poise within each one of us. So, is there a technique? Is there a way to reach there? And so, Baba, in his own inimitable way, he says, there is and there isn't. See, we always say Baba's language is such, that yes, if you are sincere, if you are honest, I would put it, if you are sincerely sincere and honestly honest, and if your question, if your query, if you are really seeking, then you will get that place within yourself. But if you are intellectually seeking and not, there is no feeling behind that, there is no sincerity, there is no seriousness, then you will not find it. So there is and there isn't. It unfolds on its own. It is unfolding, as we always say, that spirituality is not the accumulation or a gathering from without. Gathering means accumulating from without. Without means from outside. It is an unfoldment from within. So when the sincerity grows, automatically spirituality unfolds. But at an intellectual level, if we ask 100 of questions, intellectually one may be satisfied, but internally we are dry. There is no maja, there is no charm, there is no fun. So Baba says there is and there isn't. It unfolds on its own when your prayers are offered with a warm heart. Warm heart would mean honestly, sincerely, lovingly, spontaneously. Just words alone doesn't constitute prayer. Many of us are only focused on the words. Just words alone do not constitute prayers. In the same way, just intonation or just loudness of the voice or the beauty of your singing the prayer, that is not what Baba hears. I remember, I'm digressing a little bit. Baba was in his darbar, we call it. There was a darshan program happening, maybe a sahwas program, and some very well-known kawal was brought to, to sing the kawali. He had a very good name, he had a very good voice, and he was singing before Baba. So Baba would do this. This means very nice. And he looks to the kawal and says, very good. That means you're singing very nice. But then he would look to the ladies, the women mandli who would be under a curtain, they would not be out, and he would look at that and do like this. In Parsi, Gujarati, we call it pakine poro. Pakine poro means it is boring. It is not really good. But Baba would never condemn anybody, that we all know. So he would encourage. And Baba said, that his voice was good, everything was good, the words were good, the voice was good, but he was not singing from the heart. His focus was on his voice, on his intonation, on his singing, and the technical aspect of it, but not from the feeling aspect of it. Whereas somebody who does not have a good voice, somebody may not have a good, knowledge about, what rhythm and stuff like that. But if he was singing from the heart, Baba would really do this to both sort of, and he would say that he's really singing from the heart. Yeah, yeah. That was another occasion. I think it was C.D. Deshmukh, Dr. C.D. Deshmukh, if I'm not mistaken. He was Baba's very close disciple. He is responsible for writing out the discourses, the original 5-volume discourses. A very simple man, a simpleton. And once he was singing, and obviously his voice was like my noise, So it was not definitely not sonorous or not very melodious, sort of, And Baba would just go on saying, wow, 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 wow. And the ladies were, even Shirin Mai was, ladies were there. And Shirin Mai sent a note that we are getting so bored. He has no voice. He has no sense of singing. Why are you encouraged? And the more Baba encouraged, the more he kept on singing. One more Baba, one more Baba, one more Baba. And then Baba explained that his voice may not be good, but you have no idea. It was so pure. He was singing from the core of his being. There was purity, there was love, there was joyousness, there was spontaneity. That is what I was praising. Shirin Mai Baba's mother would say that you are boring us. Why do you keep on saying this? Because he keeps on singing more and more. So coming back to our reading, just words don't alone constitute prayer. Rigidity can turn sublime words into rituals, while a sense of humor with discrimination can fill a prayer with liveliness. See, here Baba constantly emphasizes on humor, discrimination. There's another word which Baba constantly uses, creativity. where he loves all these things, creativity, spontaneity, and all that. So Baba says, while a sense of humor with discrimination can fill a prayer with liveliness. So there has to be liveliness in our prayer. That's what Baba is saying. It should be alive. It should be vibrant. In that case, although the words remain the same, because the words of the prayer are the same, the prayer becomes alive, animated, full of life. That means spirited, very spirited prayer. Such prayers may be experienced at set times or spontaneously anytime in the course of the day. Many people ask that whether Baba had told us to pray every day in the morning and evening at 7 o'clock. And I say no. You can pray at any time. You can pray when you are bathing, when you are on a toilet, when you are riding a bike, when you are riding in a train or bus. Anytime you feel like spontaneously praising the Lord and remembering Him, it's perfectly okay. Baba has not said those times. Those times were said later on by the existing at that time the trust people who are managing the samadhi affairs. So any set time, no problem. Anytime, no problem. But the issue is it should be lively.
Are there any clues that would help me to live such a life? Many, but there is no set system to it. The more you catch them, the more there are for you to catch. But remember, you said in a mild tone, there is one prerequisite. Resign yourself to my wish with a cheerful heart. This will lead you to experience life as an integral whole without picking so many holes in it. I saw the twinkle in your eye and smiled sheepishly, remembering my foolish behavior that morning. You continue, you are just a drop in the ocean that I am. When that dropness becomes transparent through self giving prayers, my oceanic nature flows out through your veins, revitalizing your cells and releasing the glow of joy in your heart. Just then, the phone rang. I picked it up and said hello. Then I put it down. What was it? You asked. Wrong number, I said, then smiled. Well, that seems to be just the right note to ring in your new adventure. Remember, the real holiday is when you let go of self so that I can be present in your life. Good luck. And the next moment, I found myself alone in my room. Suddenly, I realized that during the entire conversation, both of us were standing by that table with so many things strewn on it. In the midst of that chaos, I had forgotten to offer you a seat. Many a time I have noticed that in your presence I lose my common sense, but each time the profundity, humor, and wonder of the moments spent in your company turn a light on inside me. This time I gathered that each prayer is an intimate dialogue with you, encompassing all aspects of life, and that you are ready to respond anytime with a welcoming smile.
So, all right. Bal Natu ji is asking, are there any clues that would help me to live such a life? Life of spontaneity, life of accepting everything as coming from Baba, life of diminishing our ego and giving place to Baba. And the only way to do that is to sincerely, as Baba had said one day, in the Sawa, like how you wear a coat after you take a bath, you wear your clothes and then forget about the clothes. So the moment you get up, you wear Baba and then think that it is Baba who is working through you, which is a fact actually, because the small I, the false, separative, egocentric I actually does not exist. It is only an apparent existence. So it is He who is conducting everything. And when we do that ongoingly, then by and large, our life is always in a state of equanimity. We don't feel that much disturbed. It doesn't mean that things will not always go so called smoothly. There will always be a roller coaster ride, but then we won't feel dejected or depressed. So here he's asking, are there any clues? And Baba says, many, but there is no set system to it. The moment we talk about any system, it it reduces the spontaneity. So there is no system. The moment you think that, oh, I have achieved it, you will realize that you have not achieved it. It's something like that. The moment you try to grasp it, it will just elude you. In other words, you need to be in such a space all the time as like always a student, always wanting to learn more and more through experiencing. And a time may come by Baba's grace that we we get the final experience that all this what you have experienced was absolutely null and void. The real experience is the Aham Brahmasmi experience. So Baba says there is no set system to it. The more you catch them, the more there are for you to catch. In other words, the more you know, the more you know that there is more to know. Something like that. The more you know, you realize that there is much more to know. And then the more that much you know, then again you see there's much more to it. Like that. But remember, you said in a mild tone, there is one prerequisite. Prerequisite is a precondition without which you cannot, like without your vaccination, you won't get entry into the train or something like that. There's a prerequisite. There's a prerequisite. Resign yourself to my wish with a cheerful heart. I repeat, the prerequisition is resign yourself to my wish with a cheerful heart. This will lead you to experience life as an integral whole, WHOLE, without picking so many holes in it, HOLE hole. So, in other words, my interpretation would be do your planning, do your arrangement, work towards it. But if at the end of the day it doesn't work the way we had expected it to work, think that Baba wanted it otherwise and be resigned to his wish. That way, we do not feel disturbed or perturbed. It does not mean that we will not try again. It does not mean that we will not make extra effort next time. It doesn't mean any of these things. It only means that we have not beaten ourselves up with a sandal or what is chappal. We are not beating ourselves up because of the result that did not came according to our requirement. Sorry? That did not come. That came other than what we expected it to come. I saw a twinkle in your eyes and smiled sheepishly, remembering my foolish behavior that morning. The foolish behavior of getting irritated, upset, disturbed, black mood, as he said, that there was a cloud now, I can't do it because. So he lost. He gave up hope. He did not want to continue his plan because something outside of him disturbed him. You continue. You are just a drop in the ocean that I am. When that dropness, the dropness means uh, the 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 feeling that I am a drop in the ocean. When that dropness becomes transparent through self-giving prayers, that means, in other words, when our aham, the I, gets reduced, my oceanic nature flows out through your veins, revitalizing your cells and releasing the glow of joy in your heart. Again, in other words, what it means is the less of the false I we have in us, the less of that, the more of the real I manifests itself. Of course, not in full form, because if it manifests fully, then we become him. Then the drop is no more, the bubble bursts. But the less of the I that we exhibit, the more of the real I, of Baba's I, prakats or manifests within us. Just then, the phone rang again. I picked it up and said, hello. Then I put down. This time, the hello obviously was very mild. What was it you asked? Wrong number, I said, then smiled. See, most of us, you can do this exercise anywhere. You say hello, immediately the opposite person will reply or react in the same way. Why on phone? Even otherwise, on the road, anywhere in the family, you talk a little harshly, the response will always be harsh. That means we are being governed and controlled by the other person's behavior towards us. You try to experiment that. I've done that several times. If somebody is shouting, somebody talks very loudly, very rudely with us, we tend to be loud and we tend to be rude, because we are not responding, we are reacting to what the other person is doing. But if the other person, I've experimented, as I said, shouts and talks loudly, if I say, is there a need to shout? I mean, I'm so close by. Why can't we talk softly? Immediately that person will start talking softly. Experiment and try doing that. How many times I say, unfortunately, I would say my ears are such that when people shout, I can't hear. My ears are trained in such a way that if you talk softly, I'm able to really grasp what you are saying. Otherwise, it goes somewhere else. So, in other words, we are all reactive human beings. And once we convert or transform ourselves from being reactive to responsive, from coming from within us, irrespective of what is happening outside, if we take a pause and respond in a loving manner, then things automatically change. So here, now because Baba has trained him up so much, he gives a gentle hello and wrong number, I said, then smile. Now what Baba says, well, that seems to be just the right note to ring in your new adventure. Now that you have learned some lesson, it's a right note. You are ringing in, bringing in, inviting in a new adventure in your life. Because after all of life is just adventure and experimenting. Remember, the real holiday is when you let go of self so that I can be present in your life. Good luck. So that is what Baba says. A real holiday or a holy day is when we allow the holiness of the most holy to permeate within us, to pervade within us, that will lessen our small I or limited I. Good luck, Baba says. And the next moment, I found myself alone in my room. So after having taught the lesson which Baba had come to teach, he vanishes once again, as suddenly as he comes. And the next moment, I found myself alone in my room. Suddenly, I realized that during the entire conversation, both of us were standing by that table. He had strewn so many things, nostalgic stuff, standing by that table with so many things strewn on it. In the midst of that chaos, I had forgotten to offer you a seat. It happens. Many a time I have noticed that in your presence I lose my common sense. His presence is so overwhelming, so awesome, that the basic things sometimes we forget. But each time, the profundity, humor, and wonder of the moments spent in your company turns a light on inside me. The profundity, deep, insightful lessons I learned. This is such a simple chapter. The reading is so simple, but deep within us, it lights something. The profundity, humor, and wonder of the moment spent in your company turned a light within me. This time I gathered that each prayer is an intimate dialogue with you. Prayer is nothing but an intimate dialogue with Baba. And it can be done at any time, sitting, sleeping, walking, anytime. It is in praise of his being. It is in inviting him to be with us in our moment to moment living. It can be just as how we talk to friends. We can talk with him, ask him questions and all that, and be open and awake to what his answers are, because he always replies. It's just that we are not open to those replies or answers or solutions, because we are stuck on certain solution. We want only that answer to come. And if the answer comes other than this, we just we just push that answer aside, as if it has never come. This time I gather that each prayer is an intimate dialogue with you, encompassing all aspects of life, and that you are ready to respond anytime with a welcoming smile. So here we end this chapter. I suppose we are through. Yes, 6:30 sharp. Thank you, Baba. Any questions? Anything to share? Anything to convey? Most welcome. Nothing. Great. I hope you all are enjoying as much as we are enjoying, because every incident which is there in this book, we can relate to it. That this is us asking the Lord, the Awakener, what is the way out of this predicament? And Baba shows us the way out. And what is important is to hold on to that way out solution that Baba has given, and try to internalize it and apply that in our living. That is where we get very slowly but surely transformed into what Baba expects us to be. Thank you, Baba, and thanks to all of you. Avtar Meher Baba.
बाबा की जय
Jai Baba. Jai
जय
Baba.
मेहर बाबा
Jai Baba.
जय मेर बाबा जय मेर बाबा
Jai Meher Baba.
Wonderful book.
Jai
Yeah,
Baba. Jai
wonderful.
Baba.